Hey linebackers, so the alternative to being able to come downhill at a good angle and be able to make a tackle for a run play is being able to get depth and get back for pass plays. So what we're going to cover here is working on our zone drops and working at dropping out at a 45-degree angle and then settling into our zone. And what we want to work on is just the fundamentals of this so that we can get back as quick as possible and get our eyes back to the quarterback and also onto the receivers to be able to read the play. So a very important thing here is when you're in your stance, we're going to show two examples of what I typically see that are bad examples and then one that's a better example. So what you typically see, if we're going to drop out at this 45-degree angle to the back corner of the box, okay, we want to stay obviously in our good position, but we want to make sure that we eliminate extra steps or losing ground. So one thing I typically see from players is this. If I play this here, you typically see the players, they'll jump and turn, but when we jump and turn, we lose that ground. Okay, so if you saw what I just did here, my right foot goes from here and it jumps forward and comes down inside this box. So what we end up with is instead of my feet being in here, we now wind up with my feet losing ground. All right, so now my other foot came back inside here. So we just lost almost a yard right here of depth, and same thing with this foot. So now as I go to get back at this angle, I can get back here, but now I just lost that yard. So it delays us a little bit, and there's no reason for it. It's a false step. We don't have to do it. All right, fast forward. Another thing I typically see is this. So if our player's in a good stance, we tend to almost reload. So we're going to see a step here. So we're going to step on the right, open up that foot, and then try to run backwards. So the problem with that one is same thing. We lose our ground because when we take this right step to reload, my right foot comes over the line, I lose some depth, and now because I did that and I widened my base, now to open up those hips, my left foot's trying to turn, but it almost has to lift up, and players usually do this because they think, well, if I lift up with my knee, I'm going to be able to get more power, but as we do this, you end up standing up straight, you kind of have to pull a little bit with the hamstring, it's not going to be comfortable, and now we're almost standing up fully as we try to get back to that 45, and now we have to retwist our hips around. So once again, just takes a little bit too long, it turns into a false step. So this last one here is going to be a good example of what we should do. Okay, so right here, what we want to do is we want to be able to turn, squish the bug with the right foot, open up at that 45 and run back to that spot, and now we land there. Okay, so now we're in a good position, and the way that you can work with your players on this is when you get them into this position, have them, this right foot, whichever direction they're going to go, that right foot really needs to press into the ground, and they're going to turn that foot, twist, and then the left foot's, all it's going to do is drop back into the 45, and you're going to get your toes directly in line with where you need to go. So as I turn here and I go to step, right at this position, my toes are completely in line with where I need to go. So now my body's turned in line with where I need to go, and now I'm able to run sideways with those crossover steps to gain the depth that I need and keep my body at a good angle. So now as I get to the top, it's a quick hip flip, and now I'm centered, and I can watch the quarterback and watch the play develop. So make sure that your players keep their feet in the ground, and then when they go to turn, they're not taking a big crazy step. All they're doing is just opening up those hips, and now we're able to gain depth. So now, compared to those first couple videos, or the first couple reps that I did, now my foot, we've already gained depth back here. We're moving forward, and now my right foot, the next step for my right foot, we've already covered half the box, and pretty much in 3.5 steps, I'm able to get to that 5-yard corner and settle myself for that 45 drop. So you can work with your players, same thing, whatever zone you play, whatever drop that they have, you just want to make sure that they're efficient and they're not taking false steps. So that's where you can start them with the good base that they have, and then you just start with telling them exactly where you want them to go and work on them not doing the false steps, not stepping one direction, going the other way. Just make sure that they're clean with it, can turn and do this, get to that spot, and then settle on that spot. So this is just, like I said, basic to work on your drops and to work on your, getting into a zone coverage for a linebacker.